William Shakespeare, the greatest icon of world literature, no doubt about that. Elizabethan poet, playwright, whom we know next to nothing about. And this gives rise to a lot of conspiracy theories. Okay, we come to that in a minute. But, I mean, what we know is he was baptized on the 26th of April, 1564 in Stratford-upon-Avon. Probably born something like 3 days before that. We don't know exactly when he was born, but usually the 23rd of April is given because 3 days before his baptism. He married women 7 or 8 years his senior at the age of 18. Anne Hathaway had 3 children, one of them called Hamnet. Okay, yeah. Then he went to London, became a playwright and an actor. We know this. We lose him for something like 17 years. And then he went back to Stratford and died there. That's all. We don't know anything else. We know more about Geoffrey Chaucer than we know about William Shakespeare, which, of course, makes it very, very hard to worship a hero. And hero worship needs biography, and people want to worship him. And so, since they don't know anything, they make it up. Like this film, for example, here. Shakespeare in Love, that Shakespeare was a man about town, a party animal, who took the inspiration for Romeo and Juliet from his own life. Nothing can be more stupid than that. Okay? If he had been a man about town, I mean, we'd know. As Christopher Marlowe, for example, who was a party animal, who died in a pub fight, who was spied upon, and all these things. I mean, we know a lot about Christopher Marlowe, his contemporary. We know nothing about Shakespeare. This means that he was most certainly a quiet man who preferred to spend his time in the seclusion of his study or something like this. Certainly not a Christopher Marlowe. And that he took his inspiration from Romeo and Juliet is very stupid indeed, because, I mean, we have a source for Romeo and Juliet, Italian source. So, come on. Yeah. Anyway, all this even more stupid. Yeah, the authorship debate. I mean, you know this if you study English. I mean, everybody will come to you one time or the other and say, I mean, I know that Shakespeare is not really written by Shakespeare. Okay. So what? So what? I mean, Roland Emmerich, the pseudo-intellectual director of this film, said this is a story which must be told. No, it doesn't have to, because, I mean, why? Here we go. Yeah, Shakespeare is just a brand. It's just a brand, like Tesla, if you like. Rename Tesla, the car stays the same. Rename Shakespeare, the plays stay the same. And a lot of people, I mean, Christopher Marlowe has been made author of Shakespeare. I mean, if you have Christopher Marlowe and a Shakespeare text side by side, I mean, this is Hyperion to a satyr. It really is. That was a Hamlet quotation. It's impossible that the one who wrote, I don't know, sonnet, take any sonnet. The one who wrote sonnet 23 wrote Christopher Marlowe, or the other way around. Or even more here, the Earl of Oxford. I mean, come on, so what? I mean, we don't gain anything by it. Name the author whatever you want to. I mean, we call him William Shakespeare because it's a good guess. We know those plays were written by one person, and that's it. What his name is completely immaterial. The oevre, which came down to us, 36 plays, of which 34 are exacted by this one person we call Shakespeare, 2 probably collaborations, Henry VIII and 2 noble kinsmen. We cannot be quite sure, but yes. A sonnet cycle written by the same person. I mean, if you take the sonnets from Romeo and Juliet and put them, read the 154 sonnets of the cycle, I mean, same author, same author, no doubt about this. I will talk about the sonnets later on. 2 long narrative poems, The Rape of Lucrece and Venus and Adonis, most likely the only 2 pieces, the publication of which he himself oversaw. They are meticulously proofread and printed in contrast to the rest of his oeuvre. Okay, but we'll be concentrating on the plays, of course. The categorization of the plays we have today is the same we had in 1623. And if there is one date in the history of English letters which one should know, it's 1623, because this is when the the only Shakespeare folio appeared. Folio, big tome of a book, with these 36 plays in them. If it hadn't been for this publication after his death in 1623, world literature would be a lot poorer. At least half of the plays we wouldn't have if it hadn't been for the publication of this book. Okay, the other we have in most of them in corrupt versions, probably copies from the prompter's book or something like this. But, of course, Shakespeare didn't publish the plays himself because there was no copyright in those days. I mean, if he had published those, I mean, everybody could have performed them. And the reason why you have these plays, or why you write them in the first place, is to make money on stage. Okay? Well, so why should you publish them? So somebody published them here, in 1623 after his death. And we should be grateful to those who oversaw the publication. The categorization of his plays in the Shakespeare folio, we use that up to the present day. Comedies, histories, and tragedies. Okay. What's the difference? Very pedestrian approach here, but comedies end in marriage, of course, history and tragedies in death, except for Henry V. But yes, they end in death. And so what's the difference between histories and tragedies? It's really that. Histories is, for Shakespeare, recent history, the history he could still oversee, which was within memory of some kind, and tragedies, remote history. For Shakespeare, certainly, I mean, Macbeth and even King Lear and Julius Caesar, I mean, they are histories, in a way, historical, but very remote history, whereas all the Henrys or the Richards are still within, not living memory, but collective memory, if you like. Here we go. The catalogue, there's the catalogue, the table of contents of the first Shakespeare folio. You should be familiar, probably, with the big four of each kind. Big four comedies, Much Ado About Nothing, Midsummer Night's Dream, As You Like It, and Twelfth Night. Okay, makes sense if you know those. Midsummer Night's Dream, by the way, the only play we don't have a source of, okay, which probably was there, but has been lost. Okay, and the big four tragedies are those, and these are the ones I will concentrate on later on. King Lear, Hamlet, Macbeth, and Othello. It may come as a surprise that I excluded Romeo and Juliet, because Romeo and Juliet is a problem play, and I will refer to it later on why it is problematic. But usually you would say that these are the four big tragedies. As far as the histories is concerned, I mean, if you know all Henrys and all Richards, you're fine. The Henrys, except for Henry V, in various parts. Okay, Richards, the second and the third, throw in King John, and you're fine. So these are the histories. The stated tenant as Hamlet's. How shall we? I would like to concentrate on Shakespearean tragedy. And what do all those tragedies have in common? One way of looking at it is that it is also an inversion of order. That there is an inversion of order in all those tragedies, and this creates chaos. You see, I mean, cosmos, order in Greek, turned into chaos, natural order turned into chaos because something happens, and then the tragedy unfolds. The chaos unfolds because the natural order is disobeyed, if you like. And you find this in all the big tragedies, and the minor ones as well. Macbeth is, of course, ruled by his wife. This is one inversion of order. He usurps the king. Okay, should do that. Yeah? Inversion of order. Yeah? Being ruled by a woman in those days is, of course, inversion of order, and then usurping a king. Yeah, trying to, or really, I mean, inverting the order of kingship, aristocracy, and so on. This is no go. So chaos. Yeah, and in the end there is death. Othello, an African who rules over, or at least is superior, by way of his job description in general, he's superior to white people and is married to a white woman. I mean, this was, in those days, of course, conceived as an inversion of order, please. I mean, I'm talking about the 16th century here. I will talk at length about Othello later on, yeah. But I mean, there is, at least in the way in Renaissance thinking, an inversion of natural order here, which leads to chaos. In Hamlet, I mean, if you take the chain of being, you remember this: man in the middle and beast below us and spirit above us. There is, the time is out of joint in Hamlet. He says so verbatim, insofar as that the order is switched around. The beast rules and spirit is downgraded. Time is out of joint. He says so verbatim. Hamlet does. The beast. What is a man if the chief market of his time is but to eat and sleep? A beast no more. Claudius, the beast, who's just interested in nothing but sex, eating, and drinking. And this is very animal-like. He becomes the animal, and the animal shouldn't rule. Hyperion to a satyr. I mean, so the old Hamlet, Hyperion, and he's just a satyr. Inversion of order. And King Lear, ruled by his daughters. Should a king be ruled by his daughters? Certainly not. I mean, a king should rule himself, and he doesn't do this. And this is his major mistake. He should have adhered to power. He didn't. He gave it away to his daughters, and of course, only one thing can come out of that, and this is chaos, and in the end, of course, death. So, what I wanted to say is, there is one way of looking at Shakespeare, very simple. Simple way of looking at Shakespeare is look for order being turned topsy-turvy. You could take all the others too. Troilus and Cressida. Chaos. I mean, so Ulysses says himself, chaos and Troilus and Cressida, because, I mean, Achilles, general, rules over Agamemnon, the king. This is against natural order, and of course chaos will ensue. Okay, so this would be a very simple way of looking at tragedy, but in the next video I would like to refer to Aristotelian poetics, trying to find out what all those tragedies have in common, looking at it from an Aristotelian perspective. Okay, this is to come, so stay tuned.